there are a lot of myths that I try to dispel around course creation, but I think one of them also is that it's easy and it's simple, and you set it and forget it, and then you just kind of lay on the beach and watch the money roll into your bank account, and that's really not the way it works.
And welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
So I'm really curious about what you do, because I think that you have found yourself into such a unique niche. And so what I want to start with is, well, tell us a bit about what you do, but also how did you get into this niche of online course content coaching?
Yeah, it's of course a very convoluted path, which I'm sure most people's careers are.
Mm-hmm.
I started out as a teacher, and then, like so many new teachers, I kind of got disillusioned and left teaching quite quickly. I started working with newcomers to Canada and realized that there was a gap in the education system. And I went back to the government and I said, there's a gap, you need to fill it. And they said, sure, we would love to, but we need somebody to design a program. So I went to the college and I said, there's a gap. You need to fill it. And they said, sure, we would love to. Come and design the program. So that's how I got back into teaching. I went to the college and I designed a program for young newcomers to Canada who were leaving high school, ready to go into post-secondary, but weren't ready age-wise, not quite ready academically. Many of them were coming from refugee backgrounds, that kind of a thing,
Right.
and needed a bridge. So I designed that program, taught in that program, won an award for that program, and then moved into administration. I was in charge of student success and engagement. I was mentoring new instructors and leading groups of course and curriculum development teams. I'm doing course and curriculum development myself. I was at the college for about 20 years.
Wow.
And then I had 2 kids in my 40s, which was life-changing during the pandemic.
Wow.
And so, yeah, I mean, I loved that job, loved everything about it. I was planning to retire there, I had no intention on leaving. And then everything changed, and I started taking online courses and looking for kind of different ways that I don't know if side hustle is probably not the right word, but just so that I could have more flexibility, be with my kids more, and kind of just looking for different options. And so as I started taking these online courses, I realized there are a lot of experts out there who have great things to share and to teach, but they don't necessarily have the background in education to know how to present that information in the most efficient way so that they can help their students learn what it is they're trying to teach, but also so that their course can be as high quality as the rest of their brand and have it really represent them appropriately. So I reached out to someone and I said, it looks like your course might be ready for an update. Would you like some help with that? And she said yes, which was like the greatest opportunity for me, because we worked very, very closely together for a long time. And then that was kind of, after that, I just started get word of mouth referrals, and more people came in and asked me to help them do the same thing. At the same time, the college, the enrollment was down. I was supposed to go back from my second maternity leave, and they offered up a voluntary buyout. So anyone who was interested could take a severance to retire early. I am nowhere near retirement age, but it was a great opportunity to stay home with my kids and explore this new career option. So I did that, and the rest is history, as they say.
Amazing. Well, there's 2 things. I didn't know that you were in Canada. I'm also Canadian, so fellow Canadian. Yeah.
Yes.
Where?
I'm in Edmonton.
Oh, I grew up in Edmonton.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
in Vancouver now, but I grew up in Edmonton. I love it.
Oh, amazing. Small world.
Yeah. Small world. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the second thing that I really appreciate hearing about is that you loved your job. And so many people get into entrepreneurship because they hated their job. And it's refreshing to hear someone who you loved what you were doing. It was great. It just wasn't suiting your lifestyle anymore and the needs of your family. And so you changed direction, but not because you hated it. And that's refreshing to hear.
Exactly. You're so right, because often we hear like, oh, get away from the drudgery, get away from the 9 to 5, leave that
Yeah.
job that you hate. I mean, let's be honest. Every job that you have, including entrepreneurship, is going to include things that you hate doing, that you don't want to
Yes.
do, that are a bit of drudgery. And that's just the way that work is. And so that's one of the things that, there are a lot of myths that I try to dispel around course creation. But I think one of them also is that it's easy and it's simple, and you set it and forget it. And then you just kind of lay on the beach and watch the money roll into your bank account. And that's really not the way it works.
It's not. Like, that sounds wonderful.
Well, it's funny because I always think, when I was in my job at the college, I would wake up every second Friday morning and money would have appeared magically overnight in
Yes.
my bank account. And it's the
Yeah.
same thing. Like, let's not pretend that there wasn't a lot of work that went
Mhm.
into, the income that we're making, whether it's online or.
Yeah, it's funny that you bring that up because I always tell people my husband is the best manifester I've ever met because he just shows up at work every day, and every other Wednesday for us, it's on a Wednesday, money shows up in the bank account,
Yep.
the exact same amount and sometimes even more.
That's
And it's like magic. And I'm like,
Yeah,
you want to make,
exactly.
if you just want to make money, like go get a really great job, and
Yeah,
you'll save yourself a lot of headaches of entrepreneurship.
it's
Right? If you
true.
can find a job you
It's true.
love, I tell people do that because it'll save you a lot of heartbreak and headaches.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
unknowns in entrepreneurship. It's not that steady income. It's not that
Yeah,
dependable paycheck that is the same.
absolutely.
There are a lot of wonderful things about entrepreneurship, but it's not easy. It's not for the faint of heart. And I
Yeah,
think it's important to be real about that.
absolutely. So let's go back to what you were mentioning about the myths of course creation and that it's not a
Yeah,
set it and forget it approach.
right.
Um, so tell us more about that and why it's not maybe this illusion that we think it is of passive income.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, there's so many things that go into creating like a high quality course that is going to continue to grow and be sustainable and have longevity. And I think that's what everyone really should be striving for. So much of the time online, we get this messaging about like making quick money and enroll a whole bunch of people, and the focus is on the marketing. And you just like the thing doesn't really matter. It's just like you advertise a transformation, you do all of these things like marketing wise, then you get a bunch of people into the course, and then you try to do it again and you try to do it bigger. And that's just kind of the messaging that I see again and again. And with the ultimate goal
Yeah.
being, like I said, laying on the beach and watching the money roll in. But I mean, there's so many things about that I disagree with. It's like, where do I start? So, first of all, I think most of us want to have a life with purpose and meaning.
Mhm.
And, when I go back to like, why did I love my job? It's because I was making a difference, because I was helping people, because every day I was
Yeah.
excited to get up and go to work and do something that was important and impactful. And so
Right.
I think for most of us in our businesses, yes, we want to make money. Yes, we want to have, at least a certain amount of financial freedom. But I think we also want to help people, and we want to put a product out there that we can be proud of. And
Yeah.
so in order to do that, there are like certain things that you have to do. And the very first thing is adopting the mindset of an educator. And so whether you
Mm.
are what you're selling is business related or health related or coaching or like whatever, or crafting or whatever,
Yeah.
if you are creating a course, selling it, and telling somebody that they're going to achieve a transformation as a result of taking your course, then you are an educator. And so you need to
Right.
start thinking like an educator. And there's several things that I teach an intensive series where we do plan your best course, create your best course, and publish your best course. And every day
So
we
nice.
start with like a mindset kind of an educator's mindset kind of lesson or discussion or whatever, because live class. And, one of the most important things and one of the most controversial things I think that I say is that as an educator, it is important to share the responsibility in your students' success. And that's not something that people talk about, or if they do talk about it, they say it's not your responsibility.
Yeah.
Like your responsibility is to sell and put this thing out there. But, when I think back to my days of teaching, if I didn't care about the success of my students, that wouldn't have come across. And in fact, the opposite would have come across. And part of what made me a really good teacher is caring to this day about the success of my students that comes across when you're teaching. And so it's so important when you are designing your courses. So what I teach is high touch, high quality, high impact online courses. And so the high touch is about the student interactions within your course. There's 4 different kinds of student interactions that I teach. And that's just about elevating your course. And it really does impact the results that students are going to get. The high quality refers to the curriculum. So many people out there who are teaching how to create a course, like, let's be honest, they're either marketers or they are people who kind of came to fame during COVID when everybody was just consuming online stuff. And there wasn't really too much of a standard for it at that time. And so it's like, here's how you build your audience. And, then you put some stickies on the wall and you create a course. And then you sell the course. And here's how you launch it and here's how you market it. But there's very little on the actual content creation part of it, the curriculum. I went to school for 6 years to learn, how to do that really well and efficiently. And so there are things that you can do, very systematic things that you can do to make sure that you are doing everything you should do and chunking it properly and organizing it properly and teaching it in a way and reinforcing it, all these different things that you can do to make sure that your content is a high quality. And then the high impact is about the results. And so again, the messaging is all about the launch and the marketing. Did you have like a 5-figure weekend? Did you have a 6-figure launch? How many people did you get in? How much money did you make? Quite honestly, I don't really care, because that's not such a marker of the quality of your course. I mean, a little bit of it is, but it's more about the quality of your marketing. What I really care about is how many people are finishing your course and how many people are implementing what they've learned, because that's really the marker of a true quality course that's getting students results. So, the metrics that you want to look at to determine whether or not your course is successful is not about how many are coming in. It's about how many are finishing and how many are implementing.
Amazing. Yeah, I really love that distinction you make about marketing the course and then having an actual high quality experience for the students going through it, because you're right. I've listened to lots of experts talk about course creation and selling your online courses, and none of them talk about the content. And the message I've always heard is exactly what you've said. It's like, it's not your responsibility for them to complete it. You just need to get them in the door, and then it's all on them to complete it. But, it makes me, like, listening to you, I'm thinking back to one of my mentors when I got into coaching, who said, you don't want clients, you want clients who get results. And if you get clients who get results, you will never run out of clients. And that's what I'm hearing with you talk, is that if you get them results, if your content gets them the desired outcome that they want, they're going to tell other people about it, and it's going to help grow your business.
Absolutely. They're going to tell other people. They're going to, amazing testimonials. They'll become affiliates of your program, and they're going to come back for more when you have another service to deliver. Then they're going to be there. They'll be your loyal customers. And so, like in recruiting for like HR and that kind of a thing, they always say it's less expensive to retain the employees that you have, as opposed to constantly that turnover and always trying to find new employees. And it's very same with this, the online business and course creation. It is a lot less expensive and less work for you to retain customers and students who you have already attracted, and they've already gone through that know, like, and trust, and they trust you because you're going to get them results, than constantly always looking for the new client, the new student.
Absolutely. Now, you
Yeah.
mentioned the 4 types of student interactions.
Yeah.
Can you expand on that and tell us more about those 4 types?
Yeah, absolutely. So back in the 80s, there was a guy named Michael G. Moore, and he started talking about 3 types of student interactions. It was like, back in the days of correspondence courses and that kind
Right.
of a thing. And I think that they're just as relevant today, if not more so. So the first is the student to content interaction. And that's the one that we think about right off the bat. So the videos that the student is consuming, the workbooks, the PDFs, audios, all of that kind of a thing. So that's just how are they consuming the content. And then so that's when I talk about like the high quality content, that's where
Yeah.
that comes in. The second type of student interaction is the student to instructor or learner to instructor interaction. And so that could be through a video, but I prefer to look at it more in terms of like how is the instructor supporting the student and how are they able to communicate? Where's that back and forth communication? So sometimes it could be through a community forum. If the instructor is involved in a forum, it can be through emails, it could be through live Q&As, group coaching, one-on-one coaching, and it's any of those kind of interactions. Then the third type is the learner to learner interactions. This is the one I
Right.
think that people forget about the most, and it actually does add a lot of value. All of them add a lot of value to the course. And so
Yeah.
that's where you give students an opportunity to work together, to meet each other, to network. People do, accountability groups and that kind of a thing, but it can be so much more than that and so much more involved. And I like now
Yeah.
when I'm looking for courses, I'm like, where are the networking opportunities? Where's the opportunity to learn from others who are doing similar things to me?
Yeah.
I now specifically look for that in courses that I take, because there's so much more value in that, not just in terms of like motivation and completing the
Mhm.
course, but also for like implementation, growing my business, seeing different perspectives, and that kind of a thing. And then the fourth
Yeah.
one that I've added in is the learner to industry. So again, depending
Oh,
on what it is that you're teaching, it's the opportunities for students to interact with others in the industry who are further along than they are. It's behind the scenes, all of those kind of
right.
sneak peeks into the workings of that industry or the workings of people who have been successful, who have gone before them. That adds a lot of value and a lot of just important interactions for the students, well, and opportunities. Because
Yeah.
I think, everybody's looking to learn from each other and that kind of a thing. So yeah, anytime that a course can
Yeah.
provide those additional interactions and opportunities, then not only does it make it more valuable, people are willing to pay for that, but it also makes the
Yeah.
course higher quality, helps students get results faster, and it helps you stand
Mhm.
out from the crowd. So we know there's a million
Right.
online courses out there right now. It's very, very noisy. I think that there's this really amazing kind of middle ground opportunity right now. So you have those kind of low ticket courses that are on demand. There aren't very many interactions in them. It's just like buy it. It's almost like an online book.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's just
Yeah.
like, right? Like consume it. And I'm always looking at like hundreds of dollars for this like content that's online. Like I'm going to go buy a $30 book and get a lot more value out of it. Yeah, like I'm always kind of
Yeah.
making that comparison. But anyway, they serve a purpose. And then you've got those like really high ticket courses that are, the gurus are offering them. There's thousands of people in them. You probably don't have access
Yep.
to that guru. There's experts who they've hired or a team of people who they've hired, and maybe
Yeah.
you're having interactions with them. But then there is this amazing middle ground where there's so much opportunity for people to come in the midpoint in terms of price, but in the high point in terms of quality and, delivering all of those interactions and experiences for your students.
Right.
I think that's where you really set yourself apart, and where you really have, like an opportunity to grow your business and get recognized and set yourself apart from everybody else out there who's kind of doing
Yeah.
that set it and forget it passive income. Because, sorry, I know
Yeah.
I'm kind of going on here, but
No, no, go. This is great.
the thing about the passive income set it and forget it thing is that it's all about the course creator and it's not
Hmm.
about the students. And the
Oh,
people who are
yeah.
selling those programs are like, look what you can do, look what you can get, look what, this is so great for you. Well, you have to
Yeah.
sell that to somebody, and many somebodies actually. You have to sell that to a lot of
Yes.
people. And they don't want to be buying the course from somebody who wants to be hands off, involved as little as they can, creating as quickly as they can. That's
Yeah.
not the kind of course that I want to buy.
No.
And so you do need to look at it from the student's perspective. Like, what are they going to be looking for? What are they going to buy? What's going to get them results?
Right.
And then produce that. And that's how you be successful.
Oh, that's such great advice. And it's, while I'm listening to you talk, I'm thinking, of course, about my own courses. And one of the ones that I often has been the most successful is my Launch Your Podcast course, which originally I did it with a live group. And I took them through it and they were all very successful and they implemented it and they launched their podcasts. But then I turned it into a set it and forget it kind of program. And while it was selling and people were doing it, and I would get amazing feedback, people would say, you made it so simple. You really broke it down for me. It was great. They weren't launching their podcast, so they weren't implementing after. And so I had to take a look at it and go, what's the missing piece? And the missing piece was the interaction with me. They needed more hand holding,
Yeah.
and they needed more guidance and to be able to ask questions and to interact with me and also the other students because they, like you were mentioning, like they learn from each other. So then I turned it into a 5-day challenge instead, where I take them through it every single time. Every session is live with me. They can ask all of their questions. They learn from each other. It's very interactive. And the success rate went back up again where they're launching and they're succeeding at it because they have that connection. So
Yeah.
it's so great hearing you break down these steps for us because I know I have done that. And I'm sure I can improve those interactions even more and make that more successful for my students. But I've seen that firsthand, what you're talking about, that it stopped working.
Yeah.
Even though they were enjoying the course, they weren't doing anything with it, which wasn't fulfilling for me as the creator because I want to see them launch a podcast and I want to see them succeed at it.
That's so amazing that you not only recognized that, but then acted on it and made that implementation like an important metric for you. And then there you go. So then you see the success is going to take off because I think eventually, like had you just continued on that same path, the success of that course probably would have started to dwindle because you wouldn't have been getting like those amazing testimonials. Like people would have been saying like it's a good course, but they wouldn't have been saying, I launched a podcast, 2 months after taking the course, and now I have a like top 1% podcast as well, or, whatever. Like those are the kinds of like, so for people out there looking for courses too, like these are the kind of metrics that you want to be looking for when you're choosing your own courses to take. You have to be really careful when you're reading testimonials and seeing what it is that people are saying.
Right.
And those are the kinds of things that you want to be looking for. And then I think also like looking at the testimonials, like how recent were they?
Oh,
because often when somebody launches a course for the first time, they might be doing it live. They've probably got a smaller group. They are interacting with their students much more. And then they're going to get those amazing testimonials. And then 3, 4, 5 years down the line, they might still be using those testimonials, but the course is probably not being delivered in the same way that it was, when it was initially launched. Anyway, just some kind of things to look out for, because I think everybody's getting a little jaded now. We've all taken those courses that haven't delivered, that overpromised, underdelivered, and so some people are struggling to sell courses that used to be successful because they're still trying to do the same thing, but the audience is a lot wiser, a lot more jaded, and a lot more careful about where they're spending their money now. So it is important that we make sure that we're stepping up and really delivering, and that we make that priority for ourselves.
Yeah, I've definitely been there before. I'm sure many people who are listening have, where you've invested in a course and it turns out that person was a great marketer and not a great facilitator, and they didn't deliver what was promised, as you said.
Yeah, and I think for so many people, like it's not their fault because they were sold a false promise. There are gurus out there who are selling the idea that this is what it takes to create a successful online business and a successful course. And so, and they've got the testimonials and everything else.
Yeah.
And so, people are unknowingly buying into that and doing what they're told. And so it's not all their fault. Like if you're out there, if you're listening and you've tried to launch a course and it has fallen flat, it's not your fault. It's just that you didn't have the steps and the skills that you needed to really create a quality course that was going to showcase your expertise in the way that they deserve to be showcased, and then get your students the results that they deserve. And when you've done that, you have so much confidence to be able to then market your course, knowing that if students take your course, they will be able to get results. Like just that assurance within yourself that you have created a high quality course and that it is going to get students results. And when you do it the right way, you have that. And I think so many people talk about imposter syndrome, and then we're told everybody has imposter syndrome. Don't worry about it. Like, it's normal. But I think it's not really. I mean, it's normal to feel uncomfortable when you're doing something new for the first time, when you're going outside of your comfort zone, nervous, uncomfortable, unsure. All of those things are normal for everybody. But I think this like normalizing of imposter syndrome is a bit problematic, because that's your instinct, your gut, your conscience telling you there's more to learn. There's more that you could do. There's something missing here. And, those missing components are often what it is I'm talking about in teaching in my courses, is how to like package a course in a high quality way that's going to get students results. And then I've seen so many people, just be so reinvigorated with their course after going through this process, right? And like they're so excited about it again. The way they talk about it is different. The way they market it is different, because they do have that excitement and that confidence. And I just wanted to mention about the like set it and forget it thing as well. So for people who've already created a course, then you kind of think, okay, now I'm done. I've created a high quality course. I'm done. Unfortunately, you're not. So I think that another kind of misconception is that once you create a high quality course, then it has a lot of longevity. And then there's another misconception that if people come to me after they've created a course, it's because there's a problem with their course, there's something wrong with the course, and sometimes there's like shame, and people don't want to say that, or they don't want to know. They don't want me to look at their course and tell them what can be improved. But the truth of the matter is that all courses have a life cycle. And they will all come to a point where they need to be revisited, revised, and revitalized. And when I worked at the college, we had it was actually a 6-year cycle, because different courses have, a different kind of longevity. But and every year we would look at something different about the course and update it and revise it and revitalize it. So, even if you put out the perfect course, which doesn't exist, let's just get that off the table. But let's pretend the perfect course existed and you put it out. It still needs to be updated. It needs to be revised. I mean, the industry changes. Your audience is going to change. You're going to change. You will have learned more. You'll have like different teaching methods and different things that you want to share. And it's just important that freshness and all of those things are kind of added to the course. And eventually it will need a complete revision and updating in order to just kind of like breathe the life back into it again, because it does get stale. And it feels stale for you. I think that's one of the reasons people are always creating new courses and always looking to create new courses, because they get bored with the courses that they've created. And what they really need to do, like, you could have a really great product. You just need to kind of like, breathe that new life into it, and go back. And that's what I find, like the clients who I'm working with on, revitalizing their courses, that's what happens, is they get so much excited about their course again. So like, don't throw the baby out with bathwater. Sometimes you've got something really good. It just needs to be revitalized.
What would you say are some of those signs that it's time to revitalize a course or take another look at it?
So what I find happens is like the first time you run a course, you're going to find out where all the holes are
Yeah.
and where people are misinterpreting what you have said or what you have taught. And so that's when you start kind of like adding in stuff like that you didn't realize you had missed. Because you're an
Right.
expert, you don't remember what people at the very beginning, what they don't know. And so
Right.
you'll find that out the first time. So people start adding stuff in, and then you'll get some comments, and people ask like, "This is really good. Can you add this? I need that." So a
Mhm.
lot of times people will start responding to those comments, and that's awesome. What
Yeah.
ends up happening though is that your course will soon become amorphous in a way, and people will start having
Right.
difficulty finding things. The organization will not be as clear as it was at the beginning, and so you'll get a lot of comments about where is this, I can't find that, questions about things you've taught already. So that's a big one. If you get a lot of questions and you're going, this is in the course, why are they asking this? Might
Right.
be because they missed it, they couldn't find it, it wasn't reinforced enough. Like that's a part that needs to be revisited in terms of how you taught it. So when
Yeah.
you start getting those kinds of comments from your students, when you start getting frustrated, I find a lot of times people start getting like, if they are doing live Q&As, they start dreading them. They don't want to go to them. It's not
Oh,
like a
right.
happy, productive, the questions are not the kinds of questions they want to be answering. Maybe they're a little bit afraid of what might come up in the live.
Yeah.
um, so anytime you start to have those feelings, or you just find that you're not as happy and excited about launching the course or selling the course or talking to people about it anymore. And then, as you said, like you start to see that the completion rates or the implementation, and the,
Yeah.
the positive feedback is not what it used to be, or what it could be. And then you have to
Right.
look at like the industry too, right? Like, are there updates? Is it technology based? Have things happened in the
Yeah.
industry? And then that time too, like sometimes, so what I've seen a lot of people do is like add in a module on AI, because that's the
Right.
new thing, right? So I'm going to add in this module in AI, and now I've updated my course, but it doesn't always work that way. Like sometimes it can at the beginning, but eventually it might need to become more incorporated into the whole course, or it
Yeah.
might have an impact that is going to affect other parts of the course that need to be changed as well. So yeah, there can
Right.
be a lot of indicators, but I think it's like, look at your gut and how you're feeling about the course. And if you're kind of like,
Yeah.
ugh, about the course,
Yeah.
then you need to look at it again. Or if you're like,
Yeah.
yes, like I need to get people into this course because they're going to get results and I'm really excited about it, then you're in a good place.
That's great. And since you mentioned AI, I'm curious of what your thoughts are of how AI fits into creating our course content, or if it does fit at all.
So yeah, I mean, I could talk forever. That
Oh,
could be
go
another
for it.
episode.
Go for it.
So I think AI has its place, um, but I think it's being misused as
Yeah.
well. So I keep getting these ads, and I don't even know who it is that's doing them, but it's create a course in 5 days using AI, and then become
Wow.
like famous and rich as a
Sounds great.
result.
Sign me up.
Yeah. And so, because of AI and other things, that have happened online recently, content is not king. Content doesn't really matter so much anymore. Um,
Right.
and so, like when I talk about quality content, it's like, yes, you need to have the expertise. I'm not somebody who believes that you only have to have 10% more knowledge than the people who you're teaching.
Yeah.
You do have to have the expertise. And so
Yeah.
you do have to have the content, you do have to have the knowledge to share. But again, it's like how you do it, how you give your students opportunities for practice and application and reinforcement and
Right.
implementation. AI can't do anything in terms of that. How you
Yeah.
share your personal story and what you've learned over the years and your insider information and behind the scenes and industry knowledge.
Yeah.
AI can't do anything with that. So where AI I find can be useful is basically kind of like getting you stuck from that blank
Yeah.
page writer's block. It can help you kind of get over that hurdle. So I never suggest starting with AI because it's going to box you in and it's going to prevent you from being
Right.
very creative and really showcasing what you have that's special and unique, because that's what's going to set your course apart as well.
Yeah.
So always start with what you have first. Do as much as you can with your knowledge. And then if you get stuck, then you can go to AI and kind of like, see if there's different avenues that it might, kind of send you down to explore. But then you have to be very critical and judicious with that information and, deciding, is that really what your students need? Is that really, because I have seen people like, well, I could teach this and I could teach this and I could teach. You don't need to teach all of those things, right? You're looking at starting at the end. What are students going to be able to do by the time they finish this course? And then you want to work backwards step by step. Okay. In order to do that, they need to have these skills. They need to be able to do this. In order to do that, then they need these skills. And you want to, only include in the course what it is that they need to achieve that end result. So yeah, you have to be careful that it doesn't lead you astray as well.
Yeah. It's such a good point. And it's, I see that in the podcasting world too, that everyone's like, AI can write your show notes. AI can do all of your stuff. And I'm like, but have you read them? Like, have you read the show note quality? And so
it's cheesy.
It's so cheesy. And it's like, it'll often, because I've played with it and it'll put into my show notes things that make no sense at all. Like one episode, it said something about sailing. It was talking. I'm like, we did not talk about sailing. Like, where did this even come from?
Yeah.
So it can pull some random stuff, and I did. Like, I will admit, I used it for a few episodes. I used the show notes that were AI generated, and those episodes didn't get the same traction because I think it was
interesting.
It wasn't like, I mean, Google's smart, right? Like Google knows AI, and I think in search engines it was getting penalized for being AI generated. And so I stopped doing that. I use it very strategically now to pull clips from the show because it'll quickly identify quotes and stuff that I can use. But everything else, I went back to just writing my own show notes, writing my descriptions. And because I want it to be my voice too. Like,
exactly.
I want it to come from me. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think people can hear, whether consciously or subconsciously, I think the from the heart, messaging, it just resonates with people differently. There's something a little like, I don't know, antiseptic, generic about like, it's not a person. And, people talk about training it to sound like you and have your voice, but I don't know. I think there's still just like that heart is still just missing, and people, like I said, even on a subconscious level, can kind of detect that.
I fully agree. Absolutely. What are some of the areas that you see people overlooking in their course creation?
Good question. I think the biggest thing is providing opportunities for practice and application. So there's a method that I teach in my courses, and it's called the gradual release of responsibilities. Here's the thing. Nothing that I'm teaching is like owned by me. Like, this is what master teachers do. This is what I learned in 6 years of university, So anyway, it's called the gradual release of responsibility. And basically it's like, I do, we do, you do it. There's more to it than that. But so often, and I do this with my kids all the time, it's like we teach something and then we say, okay, now you do it. And this is the mistake that people make in course creation so often. They're like, here's how you do it, now go do it. But there is a big, big area in there where people need a supported, call it scaffolded, way of practicing and learning that skill or knowledge or attitude before they're actually ready to go off and do it on their own and implement it and do it with any kind of mastery. So that's a lot of what I teach, is that middle ground, and how do you add in those opportunities. And that's where, like, when I talk about getting students getting results and being able to implement what they've learned, it's a lot of it that comes in that middle ground between the, like, here's how you do it, now go do it. So that's the biggest gap that I see when people are creating courses. And it's, again, it's not intentional. It's just that, like, that's the step that master teachers know how to do. And that's what I help
Yeah.
people to add into their courses.
Oh, I can definitely see that. And I can see that gap as you're talking. I see that gap in my own courses. I'm like, I need to change that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I can
It's
definitely
a
see
great
that.
thing, and that's why I talk about, like, people just getting, like, re-energized about their courses, because once you see that and once you add that in, then you're like, oh my goodness, people, you've got to see this course now. Like, it's amazing. I know you're going to get great results from it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Yeah.
Um, what are some things that online course creators can do to take their course to the next level and to capitalize on their hot leads?
Yeah, so I think that, like, adding in the student interactions that we talked about, that's like look at that first. Well, no, I wouldn't even say first.
Yeah.
The first thing you need to look at is, what is your promise? What is it that students are going to be able to do differently at the end of your course that they couldn't do before they took your course? And then you need to look at, like, the curriculum of your course, and is
Yeah.
everything in there giving them all the skills, knowledge, and attitudes they need to be able to achieve that goal? That's step number one. Then step number two is looking at the interactions in your course. And you don't have to have
Mhm.
all of those things, like all those examples that I listed. Like, don't go overboard, because that's just going to overwhelm people and confuse them, and that's not going to make your course
Right.
better. What you need to look at is then, which of those interactions do your students need in order to achieve that goal? What is going to add real value and
Yeah.
quality to your course? Um, yeah, what do they need? And so then you're
Okay.
going to look at that next. And then the third thing that I just talked about is then looking at, have you included enough opportunities for practice and application in your course,
Right.
so that students can then take it on their own into their real life, because that is the ultimate goal, is that they are leaving your
Yeah.
course with a new skill or attitude or whatever,
Right.
um, that changes their life for the better. So are
Yeah.
you supporting them in really internalizing those kinds of transformations for their life?
Excellent. Now, you have a free checklist that you offer the audience.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So it's the 7 things every course must have to max student referrals. So it's a guide and a checklist both. And
Nice.
it's some of these things that we've talked about here, as well as others. And again, it's a great way, if you've got a course already, go through the guide, go through the checklist, see if you've got those things in your course, or maybe there's some
Nice.
things that are missing. If you're thinking about starting a course for a first time, I've had people say, like, this was a great jump off point to start
Perfect.
thinking about how to make my course a little bit more tangible to
Yeah.
kind of get the ball rolling. So yeah, it's a great resource for whether you've got a course already or.
Excellent. Yeah, that sounds fantastic. So I'll definitely have that link in the show notes so that everyone can find it nice and easily.
Thank you.
And now I have some rapid fire questions for you if you're game.
I am ready. Can I add one quick
Oh
thing
yeah,
before we
yeah, of
do the rapid
course.
fire questions? Because something I've started new, so I don't think I even let you know about it yet.
Oh,
It's only been happening for a few weeks, but it's another freebie that I'm doing every Wednesday at 1 o'clock
oh cool.
Mountain Time. It's called Sip and Share, and it's just an opportunity for anyone who's interested in course creation to come together for 45 minutes, ask questions, talk about what's on
Nice.
their mind, learn from each other. It's a no promo zone. I'm not selling you anything. It's literally just an opportunity for people who care about getting their students results, and who have, like,
Yeah.
like-minded course creators who care about all the things I've
Cool.
talked about in the past 45 minutes, just to come together and share. And so anybody is
Oh,
welcome.
amazing.
Yeah, welcome to join. And the link to that's on my website for anybody who wants to kind of.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. I'll include that link as well. That sounds fantastic.
Thank you. Yes, it's
Yeah,
it's like I said, we've only been doing it for a few weeks now, but it's already just such a great experience.
I bet. I want to join it.
For
Just
sure, you're
sign up.
welcome.
All
Okay,
right. Rapid fire. Ready?
let's do it.
Okay. Favorite book?
Uh, Animal Vegetable Miracle by Barbara Kingsolver.
Oh, nice.
It's
I
a
don't know that one. I
nonfiction,
have to check
actually.
it
Yeah,
out.
it's nonfiction. He's so thirsty.
Nice. Favorite food?
Tomatoes.
Really?
Really? I know. It's a funny one. Yeah, I love tomatoes. Fresh grown tomatoes, tomato sauce, tomato sandwiches, tomato
Wow.
salad. Yes.
That's awesome. Biggest pet peeve?
Calling online education passive income is my biggest pet peeve.
Somehow I'm not surprised by that one.
There's no lead in there at all.
No. Who inspires you?
My motivation and inspiration are my children. Everything that
Oh,
I do is for them.
I love that. Three things you take with you to a deserted island.
So first would be my toothbrush, because I think if you have a clean mouth, you feel
Yeah.
good, and if you don't, you don't.
Yes.
The second, playing cards, because I think you have to
Oh,
keep your
yeah.
mind busy and engaged. And then I'd bring a chicken.
A chicken.
Yeah.
Smart.
Yeah.
So smart. Who's a celebrity you'd like to have dinner with, dead or alive?
This one is so tough because I do not follow celebrities or pop culture in any way. I'm like so uninformed. And this dates me, but so I would probably say Oprah would
Oh,
be the
cool.
person. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I think that'd be fascinating.
Because you know what? My worst nightmare is to be in an uncomfortable conversation one-on-one with somebody.
Oh,
So I think
yeah.
like Oprah would be able to carry the conversation. It would be
Yes.
okay.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And what's your go-to karaoke song?
My kids are 5 and 2, but they're super into 80s boppers, they call them. So I
Oh.
think I would have to pick I Think We're Alone Now by Tiffany.
Oh, that's a great one. Such a fun song.
That's it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, do you have any final thoughts to share before we close out today?
I think my final thought would just be for everybody to remember that if you have expertise to share, course creation and online learning is a wonderful way to not only showcase your expertise, but also share that with the world. And when you find the right way to do it, that you can be proud of and that you can stand behind, the sky's the limit.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming on today.
Yeah,
This is
thank you
great.
for inviting me. It's been wonderful.